Hey everyone, and welcome back to the channel. Today, we're journeying back in time, way back to uncover a story that might just change how you think about mummies forever. When I say mummy, what comes to mind? Probably ancient Egypt, right? Pharaohs, pyramids, and golden sarcophagi. But what if I told you the world's oldest and most mysterious mummies aren't from Egypt at all? They're from the coast of South America, and the reason they were created is a profoundly human and heartbreaking story. Let's travel to the Atacama Desert in northern Chile, one of the driest places on Earth, more than 7,000 years ago. Long before the Egyptians even started their famous practices, a group of hunter-gatherers known as the Chinchorro people were living here. And they were doing something extraordinary. They were artificially mummifying their dead. These aren't just naturally preserved bodies. We're talking about a complex, deliberate process. The Chinchorro were the first people on Earth to develop this technology, and what's truly fascinating is who they chose to mummify. Unlike the Egyptians, who reserved mummification for royalty and the elite, the Chinchorro mummified everyone. Men, women, and most significantly, children, even infants and fetuses. For a long time, archaeologists were puzzled. Why would a simple fishing community develop such an elaborate and time-consuming ritual for all their dead, especially the very young? Was it a status symbol, a religious belief about the afterlife? A recent study published in the Cambridge Archaeological Journal offers a new, deeply moving explanation. The answer, it seems, might lie not in ritual or power but in love, loss, and the universal experience of grief. To understand this, we need to look at the environment the Chinchorro lived in. While the ocean provided plenty of food, the land was harsh. The water sources in the Atacama Desert contained naturally high levels of arsenic. For adults, this was manageable, but for pregnant women, infants, and young children, it was often fatal. Archaeological evidence shows incredibly high rates of infant and child mortality in these communities. Imagine living in a small, tight-knit group where the loss of a child was a constant, devastating reality. How do you cope with that kind of recurring trauma? This is where the new theory comes in. Researchers suggest that Chinchorro mummification wasn't just a funerary rite. It was a form of ancient grief therapy. When a child died, the natural process of decomposition would take them away quickly. But the Chinchorro found a way to stop that. They developed a process to keep their loved ones with them. Let's break down how they did it because it's truly remarkable. The process was intricate. First, they would carefully remove the skin and internal organs. They would then clean the skeleton and dry the body cavity, often using hot coals or ash. After that, the real reconstruction began. They would reinforce the skeleton with sticks and tie it together with reeds. The body cavities were then stuffed with grasses, clay, and other materials to restore the body's form. They would even model a new face onto the skull using clay, often with an open mouth or eyes. Finally, they would replee the skin, sometimes using the person's own, and sometimes using sea lion skin. The finishing touch was a layer of black manganese or later red ochre paint and a wig made of human hair. What was left was not a corpse, but an effigy, a statue-like figure that preserved the human form. These weren't hidden away in tombs. The Chinchorro mummies were active members of the community. Families kept them in their homes. They were carried around, dressed in clothes, and included in ceremonies. Imagine a mother, grieving the loss of her baby, being able to hold, care for, and interact with this tangible representation of her child. The mummy became a bridge between the living and the dead, allowing the grieving process to unfold over a much longer period. It transformed an intangible, painful memory into a physical presence that could be seen and touched. This act of creation was a communal effort. The entire group would likely participate in the mummification process, sharing in the family's grief and working together to create this lasting memorial. This shared activity would have strengthened social bonds in the face of constant loss. It was a way for the community to process their collective sorrow and support one another. The mummies weren't seen as frightening or macabre. They were beloved family members, transformed into eternal figures. They were, in essence, art born from sorrow. This practice lasted for over 3,000 years, evolving and changing over time, but the core idea remained. It was a way of refusing to let go, of keeping the family unit whole in the face of tragedy. It shows us that 7,000 years ago, people experienced grief just as intensely as we do today. They just found a very different and very creative way to navigate it. The Chinchorro mummies challenge our modern ideas about death and mourning. They remind us that the need to remember, to honor, and to cope with the loss of those we love is one of the most fundamental aspects of the human experience. So, the next time you think of mummies, don't just picture Egyptian gold. Picture a small community on the shores of the Atacama Desert, working together to turn their profound grief into something lasting and beautiful, creating the world's very first mummies not for power or glory, but out of love. It's a powerful testament to human resilience and the enduring bonds of family. What do you think about this theory? Does it change your perspective on ancient rituals? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Thanks so much for watching, and if you found this story as fascinating as I did, be sure to like this video and subscribe for more journeys into our incredible past. See you next time.